Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome to Pulse of Africa News. I'm Gamachi Samandida. We bring you powerful stories and pivotal moments shaping the African continent. We begin with a message from the President of Ethiopia. Ethiopian President Taye Askeselase has called for a renewed trust-based global partnership, saying Africa must be recognized as an active architect of its future amid shifting geopolitical power and declining confidence in multilateral systems. Speaking at the World Government Summit, the President said Africa is at a defining moment of self-introspection as disruptive global changes challenge the older order. He added that innovations in renewable energy, artificial intelligence and digital finance offer opportunities to overcome long-standing development barriers. For Africa, the changing environment is a clarion call. We don't see ourselves as mere observers for global challenge, but as architects of our future and our destiny. The President emphasized that Africa is not a bystander to global change, highlighting the transformative potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area that aims to integrate a market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP exceeding $3.4 trillion. According to him, the African Continental Free Trade Area is a flagship initiative of the African Union's Agenda 2063 and seeks to eliminate 90% of tariff barriers to build regional production networks. President Taye underscored the importance of continental connectivity, citing major infrastructure corridors linking East, Central and Southern Africa, including routes connecting Ethiopia with neighboring countries. The Lapset corridor connecting Kenya, South Sudan and Ethiopia, and the recently inked multi-million-dollar project connecting Ethiopia with South Sudan remain pillars of African connectivity strategy, he added. He said these corridors are not merely transport routes but vital arteries of regional cooperation and economic integration. Outlining Ethiopia's development priorities, the President said the country is focusing on three strategic pillars: energy, food self-sufficiency and air connectivity.
To boost its own industrial upgrade, Ethiopia is focusing on three strategic pillars. The first one is Ethiopia's strong belief in energy as a regional catalyst. We are now generating over 6,000 megawatts of clean power. The second one is Ethiopia's right path towards food self-sufficiency. Our coffee production reached 640,000 tons of coffee. We have planted 8.5 billion seedlings of high-quality coffee. The third one is to further expand Africa's air connectivity. Ethiopia is currently constructing a $12.5 billion international airport with a capacity of 110 million passengers and over 3 million tons of cargo per year.
With the full operation of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Ethiopia is now generating more than 6,000 megawatts of clean energy, he added. He also highlighted Ethiopia's transformation from a wheat importer to Africa's largest wheat producer and announced major investments in agricultural productivity, including record coffee production. Our coffee production reached 640,000 tons of coffee. We have planted 8.5 billion seedlings of high-quality coffee of premier coffee quality to be available to the world. On aviation, President Taye said Ethiopia is constructing a $12.5 billion international airport with the capacity to handle 110 million passengers and more than 3 million tons of cargo annually, further strengthening Africa air connectivity. Despite progress, he acknowledged that Africa continues to face challenges, particularly in financing large-scale infrastructure projects, largely due to capital constraints. Benin has taken a major step toward its future with the official launch of Vision Benin 2060 Alafia, a world of splendor, unveiled by President Patrice Talon at the Sofitel Hotel Dome. Designed as a national compass for the next 35 years, the vision sets out a strategic framework for sustainable, inclusive and resilient development aligned with the centenary of Benin's independence in 2060. Established by Law Number 2025-16 of July 10, 2025, the vision replaces the expired Vision Benin 2025 Alafia and becomes the legal foundation for long-term public policy starting in 2026. Built through a participatory process launched in 2024 across all 77 municipalities, the strategy reflects citizens' aspirations and national priorities. Vision 2060 rests on 4 pillars: peace, good governance, prosperity, and cultural and international influence, aiming to consolidate reforms since 2016, strengthen human capital, foster innovation, and ensure lasting social stability. Integrated into Benin's national planning system, it will guide 5-year development plans and sectoral policies, offering continuity beyond political cycles and greater visibility for investors. President Talon described the vision as a collective commitment, calling on all Beninese to take ownership. By adopting a long-term inclusive approach, Benin positions itself as a regional model in West Africa for strategic planning, sustainable growth, and national cohesion.
Ethiopia's green legacy initiatives are restoring urban parks and expanding green spaces across our cities. Green spaces protect the environment and strengthen healthy, resilient communities.
Moving on to Zambia. Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema said that the government is targeting to increase electricity generation capacity from the current 3,500 megawatts to 10,000 megawatts by 2030. Speaking at opening of the Continental Energy and Infrastructure Investment Forum, CEIIF, the president said the targeted increase is driven by the need to meet growing economic demand. Africa's challenge is not ideas, but the implementation gap and a high cost of capital fueled partly by wrongful profiling, he added. President Hichilema said this forum must therefore align policy, capital, risk and project preparation to drive execution. Zambia is already delivering funded energy and key infrastructure projects anchored on reforms that ensure consistency and effective implementation.
This forum is important. Truly important. Africa's issue is not ideas. Africa's issue is about getting things done. We fall short there. We say a lot of things, sometimes loosely, sometimes in a structured and organized way, but we fall short on delivering those ideas that we discuss, which are actually technically sound, but somewhat our efforts evaporate at the point of implementation. And I'm talking about effective implementation. So this forum must take account of that gap.
Speaking of Zambia's efforts in energy transition, he said the government aims to raise copper production to 3 million metric tons by 2031 and maize production to 10 million metric tons annually by 2030. Hichilema said the power generation targets are based on an energy mix with 3,000 megawatts expected to come from coal, while the rest will be generated from hydropower and other energy sources such as solar. Meanwhile, Zambia's Minister of Energy, Mazoko Chikote, said the country requires about $11 billion to expand electricity generation capacity and related infrastructure, including transmission lines. The government plans to increase transmission lines from the current 12,700 km to 17,700 km to facilitate the transmission of electricity from various power plants expected to come on stream, said Chikoti. African Union Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Lerato Mataboge, said African Union is committed to support African countries under various initiatives to transform energy sector.
That is why the African Union is operationalizing the African Single Electricity Market, an initiative that connects Africa's 5 regional power pools into a single continental market.
It intends to embark on massive inter-grid connection projects to link the country to all its neighboring states. The CEIIF, being held from February 2 to 5, has brought together industry leaders, policymakers, regulators, development institutions and investors to explore practical pathways for accelerating infrastructure delivery and the energy transition across the Southern African region. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye held high-level talks in Brazzaville during an official visit to the Republic of Congo, focusing on strengthening bilateral cooperation and deepening African solidarity. The visit reaffirmed the shared ambition of both nations to project their long-standing relationship into the future with greater cooperation and solidarity. In discussions with President Denis Sassou Nguesso, both leaders expressed a clear and common will to deepen friendship and strengthen bilateral cooperation grounded in mutual respect, continuous dialogue, and joint action in the service of their peoples and the African continent. The visit also provided an opportunity to meet with the Senegalese community living in Congo. Their history, engagement, and contribution were highlighted as a powerful symbol of the enduring human and cultural bonds between the two countries. The Senegalese delegation expressed sincere appreciation to President Sassou Nguesso and the Congolese people for the warm, fraternal welcome and generous hospitality extended throughout the visit, underscoring the spirit of unity that continues to define relations between Senegal and the Republic of Congo. Moving on to our business headlines, Tanzania expects to raise its overall spending by 10% to 61.93 trillion shillings, equivalent to $24.29 billion next fiscal year, its finance minister, Khamis Musa Omar, said. The East African country faces financial pressure to fund development projects due to the withdrawal of budget support from partners, including the U.S. and the European Union. Omar said in a budget guidelines document seen by Reuters on Tuesday that the government expects to borrow 15.24 trillion shillings in the fiscal year, starting July from 15 trillion shillings in the current fiscal year. Hassan was declared the landslide winner of last year's disputed election, which was marred by clashes with security forces over the exclusion of her main challenges, according to Reuters. The economy is forecast to grow 6.3% in 2026, up from 5.9% last year, and growth is expected to reach an average of 6.9% over the medium term, Omar said. Zimbabwe's mineral exports reached $3.4 billion in 2025, up from $2.9 billion recorded in 2024, the Minerals Marketing Corporation of Zimbabwe, MMCZ, said Tuesday. According to the MMCZ, a state-owned enterprise mandated to market and sell all of Zimbabwe's mineral resources, excluding gold and silver, cumulative mineral sales in 2025 reached over 4.8 million metric tons. The MMCZ said in a statement that the strong sales performance reflects improved market conditions, enhanced operational efficiencies, and the benefits of strategic systems upgrades. Nomusa Jane Moyo, MMCZ's general manager, attributed the growth to a rebound in prices for key revenue-generated minerals, particularly platinum group metals, coupled with improved export processing efficiencies. Value growth, however, was partially constrained by lower rough diamond sales volumes, depressed diamond prices, and heightened competition in the coke market, which necessitated strategic price adjustments to maintain market share, said Moyo. The MMCZ said it is targeting to generate $3.5 billion in revenue from mineral sales in 2026, underpinned by a positive outlook for platinum group metals. Zimbabwe has a diversified mining sector rich in gold, platinum, diamonds, chrome, and lithium, which plays a vital role in the country's economy and export earnings. Finally, sports news. Morocco's Football Federation, FRMF, announced it would appeal the Confederation of African Football's CAF disciplinary rulings over last month's chaotic Africa Cup of Nations final against Senegal, which the hosts lost 1-0 after extra time. FRMF criticized the sanctions as disproportionate to the seriousness and gravity of the incidents during the 18 January match, which was overshadowed by a 14-minute interruption after Senegalese players staged a walk-off, a pitch invasion by their fans, and confrontations involving players and staff. CAF's disciplinary committee handed Senegal's coach and fined him $100,000 after he instructed his team to leave the pitch following a VAR decision to disallow a goal late in regular time. Senegal's Football Federation was fined $615,000 for the behavior of their players and supporters, with Liman Nidaye and Ismaila Sarr receiving 2 match bans for unsporting actions directed at the referee. Morocco, whose appeal to have the match results overturned was rejected by CAF, were also hit with sanctions totaling $315,000. Let's take a look at the weather forecast across Africa. That's all for this hour. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.